شفتي شخص قدامك عم بيتعرض لضرب مبرح أو عم
لا،
بيقتل قدامك؟
شُفت شخص متوفّي يعني
مستشهد.
مستشهد.
إمم.
طبعًا رايحين رجليه وحالته
آه.
فبات عنا بالبيت ليلة لبين ما تاني نهار طلعوه. حتى ولادي شافوا هذا المنظر يعني. ابن عمي.
الله يرحمه يا رب.
آمين يا رب.
تصير ما بتعرفي الشارع الآمن من الشارع اللي فيه قنص، ومعك أولاد ومعك هاي، يعني بدك تأمني الأولاد بالأول أو أنا أمشي بالأول قدامهم لحتى أكشف المكان.
أيوة.
إيه، فيعني كانت صعوبة فيها هاي.
الحمد لله سلامتك.
الله يسلمك يا رب. عن أولادي أهم شيء.
أكيد كنت بني.
حتى يعني ملاك عاشت الهاي لقصفة الطيارة، فأنا شلتها من تحت الأنقاض يعني. فكانت لحد ما اجينا لهون وهي بس تشوف الطيارة تخاف. وليش إحنا وليش كذا يعني. وإمتى بدنا نروح وإمتى بدنا نروح على بيتنا.
أنت بترجع على
إمتى بدنا نرجع.
أكيد يعني.
فهاي.
The families that were coming from Syria across into Jordan, there had been layers upon layers of long-term stress. So we saw things like mums and dads who truly were in survivor mode. How do I feed my children? How do I keep them safe? We saw young people who really, a 7-year-old who became adults overnight. I guess I would call it a drastic understanding of a loss of childhood, of a loss of attachment to yourself, to who you were and what value you had in your world before you came across, before the war started.
This is a story about children and war. It's about stress so severe and prolonged it can become toxic. It's about scientists and humanitarians working to provide hope in what can seem like a pretty hopeless world. And it's the story of courageous Syrian families raising their children in the face of unimaginable violence and oppression. Their past defined by terror, their future driven by hope.
Not all stress is actually bad. We have positive stress, we have tolerable stress, but we also have what we call toxic stress, and this is what is most concerning for us. And so toxic stress happens when you are in particularly severe situations where there is exposure to community violence or abuse, as many of these refugees have experienced, and neglect as well. And when those happen at a particularly severe level and for a prolonged period of time, what can happen is one stress response, which is a normal system in our bodies, gets set permanently on high. And the thing about toxic stress is that you continue to have your stress system, stress response activated even when the threat is gone. And so it's very difficult for them to tell often when they are actually in danger or when they just feel that they're in danger.
A child stops talking, stops interacting with other human beings because any interaction is harmful. So he or she pulls back into themselves. And so they lose the connection with the environment around them. And this results that the neurons in their brain stop connecting. And if you don't use them, you lose them. So the connections are no longer used, the neurons atrophy, and a child's brain develops not to be able to cope socially with the environment around them. And the ramifications are not just on their social interactions, but even on their mental cognition. So their mental capabilities are less, their social capabilities are less, and so on.
Particularly with young people, they often lose the ability to control their impulses. For example, they'll see their mate across the road. They won't have the ability to look to the right, look to the left, and to make a calculated risk. They would just run across the road. And we have seen this happen where young people have actually been killed by trucks because they actually weren't able to control their impulses.